There's one thing Virgo does with almost automatic consistency, and most people around her never notice because the results seem natural. She watches. Not the external world, not the people around her, although she does that too. She watches the blind spots, the spaces where something could enter unseen, unprocessed, uncatalogued before arriving. And over the years, Virgo has become so good at it that she's come to believe she's covered every possible angle, that the system is complete, that if something new appears, she'll recognize it before anyone else. And then the end of June arrives, and something appears without warning, without an announced entrance, without fitting into any of the drawers that Virgo spent years organizing with almost surgical precision. You know how it feels. It's not panic. Virgos rarely truly panic. It's something more subtle and uncomfortable. The feeling that the map you carry in your head doesn't have that point marked, that you're looking at something real, something that's happening now, and the internal system you've built doesn't have a category for it. There's no ready answer. There's no rehearsed plan B. It is this feeling, this silent disorientation that Virgo rarely admits aloud, that will be at the heart of everything you will understand at the end of June. Because what arrives unannounced isn't a problem that needs solving. It's a visitor. And unexpected visitors, when you stop trying to control them at the entrance, sometimes bring exactly what you needed to receive. Even if you never asked for it, even if you never thought you needed it. Now let me ask you something before we continue. How many times have you spent an entire day being absolutely functional, answering messages, making decisions, organizing the chaos around you, while something inside you was quiet, waiting, unable to keep up with the rhythm of everything happening outside, that deeper layer that rarely comes up in conversations, that you keep to yourself because you know it's hard to explain, that sometimes even you can't properly name? Virgo carries it with silent competence, and the universe apparently knows exactly when that deepest layer is quiet enough to hear what it needs to hear. This end of June has an address, and that address is you. The Virgo mind works in a way that few analytical systems can imitate. It doesn't just process what's happening now, it simultaneously processes what could happen, what will probably happen, what has already happened in similar situations, and what the ideal response would be for each possible outcome. All this at the same time, in parallel, while the rest of the world thinks you're simply listening, simply waiting, simply present. No, it's not. You're calculating. And there's something extraordinary about that ability. It protected Virgo from many things. It anticipated crises that others didn't even realize were coming. It allowed you to reach the end of difficult situations with an integrity that wasn't an accident. It was invisible inner work. But she has a flaw that Virgo rarely examines. It relies on past data to make predictions. When something unprecedented appears without personal precedent, without a recognizable pattern, without a category, the system doesn't crash because it's weak. It crashes because it's honest. It simply doesn't have the material to process what has arrived, and that's exactly where the end of June meets Virgo. That feeling of not having enough space for what's arrived, it lingers for a while. And before continuing, I want to ask you a direct question. What do you do when your mind needs clarity the most, precisely when it has the least? It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose. It's not a prediction guide. It's not a list of what will happen to Virgo in a given period. It's something different. It's a mirror reflecting how Virgo thinks, feels, and acts when what arrives doesn't fit the plan. It's content that treats Virgo's intelligence with the respect it deserves, not simplifying, not generalizing, but pointing to the real mechanisms that make Virgo who it is, including those that remain hidden until an unexpected visit brings them to light. You are currently in a moment where something has shifted. You may not yet know exactly what, Perhaps what has arrived is still being digested, still occupying space without having been properly accommodated. And this state of active processing, of productive discomfort, is the best possible time to access content that will help you see what is happening more clearly than the standard analytical system can currently offer. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy, and in the comments tell me, when was the last time something arrived in your life without warning and you only understood why much later? Write it below, because the answer you give might be more revealing than it seems. What the mirror shows you when it appears unbidden is always different from what you expected to see. Virgo builds a very specific internal image of herself over the years, not out of vanity, but out of functionality. She knows what she can do. She knows what she does well. She knows how to react under pressure, how to organize chaos, how to maintain precision when everything around her crumbles. This image is real, it is earned, it is deserved, but it also functions as a definition, and definitions, however precise, have boundaries. And on the boundaries, there is everything that was left out of the category. What that unexpected visit in June does, that thing that arrived without fitting into the file, is appear right on the edge. At the point where the definition of who you are meets what hasn't yet been named within you. Not because of the universe's cruelty, because of its precision. Because the parts of you that have already been integrated, that already have a name and an internal address, don't need unexpected visits. They are already at home. What arrives unannounced always seeks the space that has been left open, the territory that Virgo stopped exploring because exploring hurt, or because it seemed pointless, or simply because daily life covered it with layers of responsibility and efficiency. And when you look at what arrived, when you really look without trying to fit it in immediately, you see something that wasn't in the inventory. It's not a flaw, it's an unmapped area. It's a real territory that exists within you and that none of the internal spreadsheets had yet recorded. Recognizing this is different from passively accepting it. Virgo knows the difference, and it's important that you know that I know this. Recognition is the first real movement of discernment. It's looking at what has arrived without the filter of immediate processing and saying, this exists, it's here, and I don't yet know exactly what it is, but I'm looking. This pause that seems unbearable for a Virgo accustomed to finding quick answers, is where the most important information is kept. Now, what usually happens at this moment is curious. Virgo has some patterns of response to the unexpected that she herself rarely identifies as patterns, because when she is in them, it seems that she is simply being rational. The first pattern is immediate cataloging, turning what arrives into a problem, giving it a label, even if provisional, creating an emergency category, starting to work on solving it. This generates the sense of control that Virgo needs to feel functional, but often it solves the surface and leaves the core intact because the core wasn't a problem to be solved. It was information to be received. The second pattern is strategic retreat. Virgo closes an inner door that she didn't even know she had opened. She retreats to a more familiar, safer, but previously mapped territory. The visit continued outside, knocking, but the door remained closed. And the problem with this pattern is that the more time passes, the harder it becomes to open it again. The third pattern, the rarest and the most powerful, is to remain with the discomfort without doing anything about it yet. Simply let the visit settle in. Don't categorize it. Don't retreat from it. Just be present with what has arrived and wait for the meaning to appear on its own in the time it needs to appear. This third pattern is what the end of June is asking of you. Because what arrived without warning doesn't need to be resolved now. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs space. It needs you to trust, even if temporarily, that your capacity for discernment will find its way when the way is ready to be found. And here is Virgo's most interesting paradox. She has discernment to spare. This gift is active all the time, but she rarely applies it to herself with the same generosity that she applies to everything and everyone around her. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There is a difference that Virgo needs to make peace with, the difference between analyzing and discerning. Analyzing is what Virgos do naturally, automatically, with impressive speed. It's about taking the available data and calculating the likely results. It's about mapping the variables and identifying the patterns. It's a logical, verifiable, and presentable process. Discerning is different. Discerning is looking at the data, at the silence between the data, at what the data says without saying and still knowing. Not calculating, knowing. It's a form of intelligence that works even when the file doesn't have enough drawers for what has arrived, that you don't need all the information to reach a conclusion. That operates at a lower and more constant frequency than analysis, like background noise that is always present, but which Virgo learns to ignore because it cannot show the reasoning. And a mind that has been trained to show the work, that has learned that it is safer to arrive with a ready explanation than to simply know, does not easily trust what it simply knows. But what arrived at the end of June lacks any rationale to show. There's no supporting spreadsheet. There's no logical sequence you can present to yourself and say, see, it makes sense this way. He simply arrived. And the only tool that works to understand him is precisely the one that Virgo has, but sometimes forgets they possess. Profound discernment, knowing what you know before knowing why. This gift is not mysticism. It is the result of years of internal observation that Virgo has made, often without realizing she was doing it, stored in a place that lies beneath the organized archive. It is experience processed in a way that the conscious system cannot access on demand, but which responds when you stop making enough noise to hear it. And to stop making noise, to stop cataloging, anticipating, and resolving, is exactly what the unexpected events of June are demanding. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. You have a period in the calendar that does specific things with Virgo energy, and the end of June is one of them. It's not an absolute rule. It's not a predetermined destiny. It's terrain with a particular quality, like a season that changes color so gradually that you can't pinpoint the exact day the change happened. But you look around one morning and realize that everything is different than it was. The end of June marks a natural point of evaluation. The year is halfway through. The choices made at the beginning, the intentions, the bets, the restarts, and the silent abandonments have already begun to show their results. Not all, not completely, but enough for Virgo, always attentive to patterns, to start taking stock. And it is in this state of evaluation, when the mind is already in a mode of review, comparison, and calculation of distances between where you were and where you have arrived, that the unexpected enters with the greatest impact. Because you weren't expecting the calculation to have a new variable. You weren't expecting the calculation to include something that wasn't within the realm of possibilities when the year began. But it is. And it is now. What the universe does with Virgo at this specific moment in the calendar is deliberate, even if you can't see the deliberation from within. It appears when the mind is sufficiently occupied with evaluation that it cannot block what comes in. When the guard that Virgo so carefully maintains is, for a moment, turned inward, analyzing the inventory, instead of monitoring what comes from outside. This moment is enough. And what enters at that moment, the visit, the unexpected, the nameless guest who arrives at the end of June, doesn't come in just any way. It comes carrying something, not necessarily an answer, sometimes a better question than the ones you've been asking. Sometimes a perspective that changes how you see the whole inventory. Sometimes simply a presence, an encounter, a memory, an opportunity that says, I'm here. What are you going to do with me? Virgo will have to decide. Not under urgent pressure, not under external pressure, but with the awareness that some things that arrive unannounced have a window of reception, that what you do in the first hours, in the first days, after something unexpected appears, whether you open the door or pretend you weren't home, determines whether that visitor will deliver what they brought or leave with the gift still in hand. This visit wasn't unexpected for someone observing you from afar. It was what was meant to happen, at the only moment you were ready to receive it without filtering it before experiencing it. Virgo has a relationship with time that few signs can imitate. They don't waste it. Every moment is evaluated, every decision is weighed, every choice carries the awareness that resources, time, energy, attention are finite and need to be allocated wisely. This makes Virgo one of the most reliable presences any environment can have. When Virgo is there, things work. When Virgo takes care of something, that something is well taken care of. But there is a cost that Virgo rarely includes in the calculation. The cost of never allowing oneself to receive what wasn't planned. The cost of filtering everything that comes from outside through the criteria of usefulness, suitability, and fit with what was already underway. This cost doesn't appear all at once. It accumulates slowly in an account that Virgo doesn't open because it seems there's no urgency, until an unexpected visit arrives. And what this visit brings is, among other things, the bill. Not a bill, a balanced presentation, a chance to see how much of herself was left waiting while Virgo ensured everything around her was working. And what awaits you in this balance, what this end of June is placing before you, is not debt. It is unredeemed wealth. These are parts of you that were kept hidden because the time wasn't right. Projects that waited, feelings that were postponed, questions about what you want, not what you can deliver, not what others need you to be, but what you genuinely want, that went unanswered for so long that Virgo almost forgot they had asked the question. The unexpected visitor in June is knocking on that door. And here's what Virgo needs to understand about what's coming. It doesn't come to replace what you've built. It doesn't come to question the competence, the structure, the care you've dedicated to every part of your life that you keep in order. It comes to add a dimension that the system couldn't include on its own, because the system was built by a version of you that didn't yet know it needed to receive it. You know now. And this knowledge, this awareness that the visit brought, that the unexpected events of June instilled in you, doesn't go away when the initial discomfort passes. It stays. It changes something in the archive permanently. It opens a drawer that didn't exist before. This is what unexpected visits do when you receive them, instead of managing them until they disappear. They leave something that can no longer be ignored. And what will remain with you after the end of June, after the dust settles, after the Virgo system finds a way to integrate what arrived unannounced, is a capacity you will use for a long time. The ability to recognize when the universe is speaking to you through what you didn't plan, and to have enough confidence in yourself to listen. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. What remains when all this settles down, when the visit takes hold, when the unexpected begins to take shape, when you take a deep breath and realize you were standing the whole time, is something that Virgo rarely allows itself to feel calmly and without the rush to move on to the next item on the list. It's the awareness that you've crossed over, not the map, you yourself. With everything you carry, with everything you still don't know how to name, with the analytical system that sometimes helps and sometimes hinders, with the profound discernment that rarely receives credit, you crossed over. Virgo was made to transform whatever it touches, not just what it plans to touch, what arrives by accident, what appears without warning, what didn't fit into any of the drawers. That too, especially that. And at the end of June, that unexpected visit, that nameless guest who knocked on your door when you least expected it, didn't come to disorient you. It came because the universe knows that Virgo, when it stops watching and truly begins to see, perceives things that no one else can see. It sees the pattern within the chaos. It sees the path within the unmapped territory. It sees the present within what seemed to be just an interruption. You weren't surprised. You were found. And what was found in you at the end of June is real, it's yours. And it doesn't need file validation to exist. That's Virgo. And that, when you stop trying to manage it and simply accept it, is more than enough.